So it's really interesting for me as a German to follow your discussion about fitting sprinklers into building, especially when it comes to residential systems and so on. And I can tell you, you're far ahead of us. So in Germany, we are not even discussing this. Sprinklers just for industrial applications in very little or very few hotels. And if you visit Germany and want to find a sprinklered hotel, it's really a task for you. But on the other hand, you may heard about VDS, and you may heard about the high quality system of sprinklers in Germany. And of course, this is mainly driven by VDS. So I want to introduce a little bit about that, and maybe it's some new information for you and some new experience. First of all, who is VDS? So we are based on the insurance industry. So we were founded more than 100 years ago, and we are still we are a company, of course. We also have to earn some money, but we are still completely independent. We are owned by the German Insurance Association. So, for example, FM Global is one of our owners. Not only FM Global, there are many, many more. I think it's almost 1,000 insurance companies in this association, and they are our owners. And what we do, we not only do fire protection. This is by far our biggest segment. We do also security, so how to avoid strangers going into my building. So we're testing locks, we are testing treasures, for example. That's always fun looking at these guys when they're doing. We do everything related to loss prevention, and quite new for us, also for you and for the whole world, is the field of cybersecurity, and there we are focusing on the small and medium-sized companies. Especially when we're looking on the fire protection, because that's why we are here, what we do. On the one hand, and this is by far our largest area, we do inspection of fire protection systems. We do more than, I think it's now around 40,000 inspections per year. Not only in Germany, we are also busy in Poland, in the Netherlands, in the whole Eastern Europe, even worldwide sometimes. Of course, we are also doing testing and certifying products, and you can find some of our certified products outside. That's one of my jobs. We do certify service providers, so installer companies, for example, and I can tell you that's really in Germany, or not only in Germany, it's a market entry criteria. To be honest, without the VDS approval, you will not install any single sprinkler in Germany. We have an own training center, and we're running information systems for weather data and property and liability risks, but that's just as a service provider for the insurance industry. And of course, we are not alone. We have quite a huge international cooperation, also with, for example, BRE, we are connected in a European Fire and Security Group. So, why we think we are very effective and why we think we have very high quality systems or high quality sprinkler systems, not only in Germany but where we are active. On the one hand, of course, we believe in strong and good guidelines. Of course, we have our own guidelines. So if you come to Germany, then you have to build according to a VDS guideline. It's like a Bible there. It's like the law. It's a private guideline, but it's like a law. That's good for us. But of course, we also accept other guidelines like NFPA guidelines, like FM data sheets, like the European standard, and so on. We just say you need a state-of-the-art guidelines. Never use a combination of guidelines, never mix guidelines, and so on. So that's one point. Use one guideline. As I said, we have own guidelines, but and they are, because they're insurance driven, and the insurance industry and also the operators of the buildings are heavily involved in developing these guidelines. They're well known for their practical use, and people really like them to use these guidelines because they're very practical orientated. On the other hand, we have to say we are maybe not that much up to date like other organizations, or we are following other philosophies, for example, like FM, which is okay. It's just a different philosophy thing. The next thing is approved products and systems. Of course, now we are in a well-developed country, Great Britain, whole Europe. That's easy, but If you look at other parts of the world, this is really a point. This is really an issue where you have to discuss, and to be honest, you have not to look so far away. If you come to Turkey, this is really an issue. They just buy sprinklers from China. No sign, no approval, not tested, but it looks nice, it's a sprinkler, and they feel safe and comfortable with that and install it. So, of course, we promote the approved products and systems as others do as well. And this is just to give you some information what is part of a product and system approval. Of course, we check the documentation. So is the documentation really understandable? Is it the right documentation? Are the drawings right? And believe it or not, it's really difficult sometimes. We do general laboratory tests, EMC testing, for example, for smoke detectors or panels and whatever, and corrosion tests for sprinkler heads and valves and so on. Then, of course, we do the specific laboratory tests, smoke tests, fire tests, especially when we are talking about newer technology. I would not call, for example, water mist a new technology. It's really old technology. But there we still have to run fire tests, full-scale fire tests. And maybe some of you know it's a lot of fun to make them, but yeah, also very expensive exercise. And then, of course, we do the so-called system approval, which means we check if all the components of a system really fits together. For a sprinkler system, that's an easy task. They will fit because it's very old-fashioned components. Not only are old-fashioned, but they are very simple components, and it's easy to combine them. When you come to a gas system, it's much more difficult, and then you have to check if they are really working together, these components. And even more difficult, it's with fire detection system. And there you really have to stick on a system approval. Yeah, the good thing is VDS approvals, amongst others, of course, VDS is not the only approval company or certification body in the world, we all know, but we try to be accepted worldwide, and we are accepted worldwide. Maybe not that much in the States, that's natural because we are Europeans, but if you come to the Middle East area, that's no problem. If you come to Asia, it's no problem. If you come to Europe, anyway, it's no problem. And of course, sometimes the word listing is used. You may heard, especially when you look at NFPA guidelines, they always talk about listing. It's exactly the same meaning what we Europeans use as an approval. They say listing. Yeah, it's good to know. What is important to know that these products can be applied to, of course, to our own guidelines, that's easy, but also to other installation codes. All, let's say, state-of-the-art installation codes are requiring approved products or listed products. As I said, meaning is exactly the same. NFPA 72, NFPA 13, FM data sheets, they have all in common. They require these approved products. And of course, the approved products always have to comply with European standards. I know this discussion might be a bit difficult in Great Britain, at least for the future, but up to now, they have to follow the European standards. We only believe in our own hands and minds, so we test everything on our own. We have no subcontractors, not at all. We do all the tests in our own laboratories or witnessing the tests with our own guys. So even, for example, when we do these product testing together with our British partners, with BRE, they do joint, they're witnessing these tests together, because nobody trusts another company also. And of course, what is also important to know, you have to run a regularly factory production control. So some of my colleagues are really, their job is traveling around the world, a nice job, just going into the factories and picking products and checking, is it still the same? So we then check the product in the laboratory, is it still the same than 10 years, 15, 20 years ago when the product was initially approved? And of course, that's pretty much the same with all the approval bodies, and I can only encourage you to check this on a regular basis. Check if If you have an approval, is it still valid? Is it still a valid approval? The good thing is we have now all internet, and that makes life so much easier. You don't have to wait a half a year for a new blue book or red book or whatever listing catalog. You can go just online and check if the product is listed or approved or not, and if this is a valid approval. Yeah, the next thing is, and this is really our, I would strongest advantage, at least in Germany, in the Eastern European countries. We have approved installers. And as I said before, in Germany you will not install any single sprinkler without being approved. There's no way out of it. And what is typical for an approval for these installers, we do this for all type of fire protection systems. We do this for sprinkler systems or all type of firefighting systems, fire detection systems, smoke extraction systems. And of course we have this approval includes, of course, some minimum requirement. You have to check, is it a real company? Do they have a liability insurance? Do they have run quality management systems, which is really simple. Then we do examinations. So each company has at least one, in most cases, much more specialists in the company, and they do an examination. And I can tell you we have a failure rate for these examinations of around 50%. They are all engineers, they are all trained engineers, and even then they have to design sprinkler systems. We check it, and it's 50% they fail. And then we do regularly audits of the companies. We do regularly audits of the construction site. For example, we do it without prior notice. So we get a list of all the current construction site of all the installer companies, which is good for us. And then we just show up there and say, hey, good morning, it's VDS. So let's check the quality of your work here. And then that works. And finally, we have the initial and follow-up inspection, I think, and that's the major difference between us and many, many other systems in the world. So what does the inspector do? He checks if the final installed system is according of the planning and design. It's not necessarily according to VDS rules. If the base of design is an NFPA guideline, it's fine, but he checks, does the installation, the real installation in the building really follows the guideline? The inspection may be on behalf of the state authorities. So we do it on behalf of the building authorities, for example. We do it on behalf of the insurance company. In Germany, you will not get an insurance without being inspected by VDS, or even on behalf of the owner. We have, of course, the initial inspection after the commissioning. That's clear, that's easy. But, and that's also quite common in Germany, we have follow-up inspections at least every year for high-risk installations in industrial applications. We even inspect after every 6 months. That's really often. So, and as I said, we do. The actual number is 30,000. Oh, that's the old number, 30,000. We are now approaching the 40,000 inspections per year, and of course, we can use this experience to develop our own guidelines and also to let's say redevelop and redesign the certification process as well. Yeah, and that's because I was asked to introduce a little bit more in detail about that, why we are doing this. On the one hand, as I said already, we do this on behalf of the building authority. So in Germany, the state is not doing own inspections. The fire brigade is not doing this on their own. They said, okay, it's we ask a third party to do these inspections on behalf of the fire brigade or the city or whatever. And of course, we have the initial inspection before the building is set into operation. By the way, this is the reasons why Berlin Airport is not open. It's exactly the reasons, the reason for that. Because the fire inspector said, no chance, you will not open this airport. For now, I think it's 7 years now. And then you have follow-up inspections every 3 years. And as I said, this inspector has the power to even close a building. And to be honest, that's happening, I would not say often in Germany, but it's happening from time to time. On the other hand, we do inspections on behalf of the insurance. Why? Because they want to pay less money to the insurance company. Very simple reason. And again, we have the initial inspection, and this is, let's say, the base to get the lower insurance coverage and the lower rates. And then at least every year we have to do the follow-up inspections. Yeah, this is just a summary. I think you will get the presentations you can read on. And yeah, I'm perfectly on time, I have to say. Woo. And of course, this is my question. It's only one question. And some of you who are involved in standardization work exactly know the reason of this question. So, do you really think that a regular inspection by an independent third party, and I think that's the important word, shall be mandatory for all automatic fire systems? Yes or no?
Okay, so we have a show of hands for yes. Brave no's.
Good. You should tell this to the European Commission, but we were forced to delete this chapter by that.
Quite right too.
Yeah, we were forced to delete this chapter from the European sprinkler standard just recently. Just that's the base of my question. That you know.
Vielen Dank. Thank you very much, Stefan.